Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us again. Welcome back to Small Business Diaries. Today, we've got Scott Harrison, who is the business owner and founder for his business, the Six Pack Revolution, that in my words, transforms people's lives through a combination of diet and exercise. And it's a remarkable business, and I'm really looking forward to get stuck into this episode. So let's just kick things off straight away. Scott, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. And thank you for having me, everybody.
Tell us something that nobody knows about you.
I've thought about this one, actually. It's a tough one because I do actually wear my heart on my sleeve quite a lot. So I'm a very open kind of guy. So to keep a secret from everybody that no one knows is probably going to be very hard for me to tell you. But one thing that I would surprise a lot of people is that they all think I've got it all together. You know, I'm the guy who's got everything, and he's exercises and he's fit and he's healthy and he's got a good business and he's got the right family and the wife and the kids and the house and the car. But I actually do struggle with anxiety quite a lot. And then if I have alcohol, then it's amplified to a horrific place.
I mean, it's so super common. And does it get worse when you drink?
Much worse.
Yeah.
What annoys me is that I know it's going to happen. And so if I have a drink, if I can stick to 2, then I'm good. When it starts going past there, I know I'm going to be up all night hating myself, thinking I'm a bad dad, thinking I'm a bad man. And then I don't get to sleep, and then I'm spiraling, and I know I'm going to do it each time. So I'm really trying to work on, especially this year, to bring that down to a much more realistic level. Sorry, I sound like I'm a big alcoholic. Even over a couple, it's not good for me. It's not good for anyone, to be fair. And I'm really trying to work on that. They call me sober curious, and I've gone for long spells without drink, you know. And it's just that it's really become a thing that's playing on my mind a lot now. So I think I need to deal with it.
But it's interesting because the relationship between alcohol and younger people is continuing to change, right? You know, you're finding less people, I don't know, like younger than me. I'm nearly 40 for context. But certainly the generation like below me, the Zoomers, they're not drinking as much. And people's relationship with like alcohol is gradually changing, I think. So like, it's just an interesting observation I think you made.
Yeah, and the thing is, in lockdown, I built this bar in my back garden, like probably most of the world. So that was things where it went a bit more pear-shaped than it was before then. And obviously, since I've cleaned my act up, and obviously become there, because I wasn't fit and slim and abs and all that from my 20s. I turned this around at 42. So since I cleaned that act up, I think it's even more affecting me, you know, because I know what damage I'm doing. And I always feel my best when I'm not drinking.
Yeah.
So it's a strange phenomenon that we sit there and we poison ourselves knowing we're doing it.
I know, it's such a strange cultural thing that like, you know, exists in the UK, and I certainly like tried to cut it down as I've got older. I mean, I think a bit like you, right? In my 20s, and by the way, I'm not in great shape, but I'm in better shape than I was in my 20s. You know, similar to you, my relationship with alcohol definitely wasn't alcoholic, but I drank more than I should have done, and it's something as I've got older, I've definitely thrown out for sure.
Scott, just so that we can balance the conversation. Obviously, this is something that you've told us that not many people are aware of. But I'm assuming part of your encouragement to anyone who's on any of your programs is to try and cut it down because of the sugar content levels, right?
No, you're not allowed any drink whatsoever. You can't. Because I tell people, don't join unless you've accepted that for this 75-day program there is 0 alcohol. So. Yeah, so it's a part of the program as well. So, as I said, that's why I think people would find me. That would be the one thing that I think people would find a little bit less likely to have understood that I struggle with anxiety, and then even more so with alcohol.
I remember actually, in my brief history, I was very uncomfortable with my weight, so I went on a big Weight Watchers regime. And I did really well. I lost a lot of weight and I've managed to keep it off. Probably could still do much better. But one of the things was I cut out all the alcohol, but then I went back to it in a very manageable way where I used to have, a dram of whiskey a night, which is the lowest content piece, but also you could enjoy it. Wasn't a night, sorry, it was, every couple of nights a week. But actually, it was useful just because it gave me much more of a balanced view on how to manage it in a more appropriate way. So yeah, it's very interesting.
So just moving on, tell us, Scott, who you are in your own words.
I'm a guy who gets an awful lot of pleasure out of making people laugh and also helping them wherever I possibly can. And I'd like to believe that if my path ever crossed yours, I did something that was of value for you.
Profound, really profound. And do you bring that like mantra into your role? Always making people laugh on their fitness journey.
Well, I do my best. I mean, I'm known as the Sergeant Major with love, so I do give them the truth, whether they want it or not. Which is sometimes it's funny for other people to watch sometimes, but but I always try and inject a little bit of comedy into just wherever I can.
Yeah,
I try and trivialize serious stuff so that people can get over it a little bit easier. And I teach this on the program. I teach people how to look at life from a different perspective. So I don't only tell people what to eat every day and what to drink every day. I also try and tell them how to think every day.
And that's really important, right? In being more self-critical, when evaluating your own, exercise and I guess like diet choices as well, right? Being able to be a little bit more self-critical of what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Yeah. And also try not to take life so seriously, So you say critical, but, so what? We're not here very long, if you think about it in the whole scheme of things. And to constantly let life stuff or other people actually dictate your fate going forward, well, you don't go forward if you keep doing that. You're living someone else's life with their limitations. And so, it's just like the old saying, you're only really competing with yourself. And as long as you can try and do something a little bit moving forward from the day before, then you're winning. And also, even when you fall flat on your face, you're moving forward. It's physically impossible to fall flat on your face backwards. If you think about it, you just can't do it. It's physically possible, right? So what? Let's just fall flat on our face. At least it's still forward.
Yeah. And what's the consequence? It doesn't matter, if you fall flat on your face. It's
nothing
just
matters,
one of those
really.
things. Everybody falls flat on their face at some point, right?
Of course.
And this is how you feel.
They're the best
it.
moments. They're the best moments. People think that struggling and fighting and messing up and it's hard. It's not. It's only hard if you make it hard. If you see every single thing you do as some way to learn, move forward, gain knowledge, become a better person, grow and help others, and then all of those things are important. There's no straight line to the top. And if you think there is, then you're going to end up actually going the complete opposite direction. Accept the obstacles, enjoy overcoming them as well. If you put your mind in the right place, you can actually enjoy the obstacles.
As cliched as it sounds, I'm a firm believer in struggling anyway. I think that there's value in struggling, obviously not when it's insurmountable and you feel like you can't go forwards, but I feel that in my career and also in my personal fitness journey, struggling has what's helped me become better. It's helped me become more determined to be more successful. I've learned more than I possibly could have done when I was struggling, and I think that people should embrace struggle.
Sitting in a jacuzzi, drinking champagne, playing on the beach with the kids, we should do as often as we can. It's great fun, but we don't learn much. You don't learn it. You're just sort of sitting, right? So you got to overcome the obstacles to move forward. If you ask me, and if you can get that in your head correctly, then when those things come, you can see them as an opportunity rather than a misery.
What was your earliest memory that you had?
I've thought about this. The earliest memory I can think of was when I was having a nightmare as I mean, I'm probably not even 2 years old, maybe 18 months, because I remember being in a cot in a holiday camp. And like, because I probably woke up as well and not recognizing where I am, I remember having this absolute breakdown. And can't believe I actually still remember that. I was blonde then. I was a baby. But I actually remember that moment still.
Profound. And what were you dreaming about? Do you remember?
I think I was just trapped. I think there was a big bird, like a big parrot or something. I think I was trapped and it was trying to get me or something like that. And then I woke up and I'm in in the bars.
A cage.
Yeah, basically in a cage, yeah. So I think I was probably subconsciously working out where I was.
What was your first memory, John?
Life and death. So I have a very good memory because I'm neurodivergent. I'm autistic, and that is a characteristic of people with autism. They're very good at remembering things. So my earliest memory is about a similar age to Scott. I was 2 years old, and we were in our garden at home at my old terraced house with my mum and dad. I go to the back of the garden, and there's a bird on the ground on its side, and it's not moving, and I don't understand why it's not moving. You know, I'm there, and I'm a bit gross. I'm a kid because I'm poking it, and like I go to my dad, why is it not moving? And he goes, son, it's dead. And I, what does dead mean? And he said, well, it's not alive anymore. And I kept asking questions because I didn't understand the concept of life and death, but it was so powerful being introduced to that concept that it's just forever seared in my memory now. Like I'll never ever forget that. Don't know what the meaning of it is, but just my first experience with that. What about you, Steve?
Wow, man. I mean, both of you have some surreal, events. My wife would say that I am void of any long-term memory. I'm not sure if that's because of my my housework organization skills. But yeah, I mean, I remember things, but they're not vivid like your two. You know, they childhood memories. But it's interesting. I don't have a specific one where I can claim as one of my first and most memorable ones. It's interesting.
Scott, you mentioned earlier on that you weren't as fit as you are now. And I wanted to ask, like, before you got started Six-Pack Revolution, what were you doing before this?
So I had a double glazing company, quite a large double glazing company. And the year there were 6 of us that owned it. And it was successful, really successful. We turned over about £18 million the year that I left. They all thought, what on earth am I doing? But I didn't enjoy it. I was grateful for what it given me, but it's quite a toxic kind of environment. And when I found that I had, which I'll tell you about how that all began in a minute, I just wanted to get out and move on to something that I loved doing, even though I took a big gamble to come away from that financial security that I had there. But it was also trying to do something that I loved and could see myself really, giving back and finding something that would take me happily into my later years. So it was a double glazing company.
Okay. So you ran that like yourself with a business partner, or were you like a one-man kind of band, or were you working for someone?
There were 6 of us, and we had various different departments. I was the sales director, so I ran all the sales side of everything. We had obviously a fitting section and a canvassing section, and overall managing section and all sorts of bits and bobs. But I ran the sales side.
And was it 6 people, or was it teams in each department, or did you just outsource consultants depending on jobs?
Oh no, 6 of us owned it, We had hundreds of people working for us. Yeah, we had various branches all over the south of England, 6-7 branches, various canvas teams in each branch. So it was a relatively big operation.
So what put the fire in your belly to stop, doing double glazing, stop in that light career and become a small business owner?
Well, I'd owned my businesses before, and it was my idea to do the double glazing company. But I had a sunbed and beauty I had 4 sunbed and beauty salons way back, and I had a jewelry shop and all sorts of bits and bobs. But what took me from I fell on this business I've got now. If I'm honest, it's kind of an accidental business. Would you like me to go into telling you how it all began?
Do it.
Yeah. Well, in 2015, December, I was standing in the school playground, picking up the kids from school on a rare occasion, because I always did that, and I just had an opportunity. And I was looking at all the parents while I'm waiting for my kids to come out. And they were, bar a couple, overweight, poison-looking, kind of all properly waddling under the stress, looking bloated, and and all the little kids were running out to their role models. And I'm thinking, well, that's not very good, is it? And then I realized I was one of them. So I decided that I was going to get a 6-pack as a New Year's resolution in the January. And the reason I chose a visual goal was because I'm quite into visualization. I didn't want to say I want to lose a few pounds. I actually wanted to do something a bit more wow. And I decided to blog it on Facebook. 36 people joined me, and they wanted to say, can we join in? I said, well, I'm not messing around here. If you do it, I'm doing this properly. So if you're in, you're in. I got 19 of them to the finish line. It was 90 days. It was called the Scott's Too Hot 90-Day 6-Pack Challenge back then. And we got 19 to the finish line. But those results, no one had seen anything like it on the planet. It was like, whoa. So I was asked for months, do another one. So come the September, I did another one, and 120 joined that one. And again, we got about 70% of them to the finish line, and it was like no one had ever seen anything like it before. So I thought, hang on, I've got something here that I quite love doing. It was life-changing physically, mentally, and emotionally, and healthily, not just the visual.
Did you have a baseline of health and fitness understanding before you went into it?
Not really. I mean, I was a black belt karate instructor, so I understood fitness and the body and stuff. But food-wise, it was just the obvious at the beginning, where I was like, cutting out stuff and keeping it very lean. There was no meal plans. There was no recipes. It was just eat as much sort of like chicken and veg as possible, and a bit of fish and veg and stuff. And just managed to keep people on track. And yeah, as I said, then we did another one, and I thought, I've got something here. So I decided to turn it into a business and do something that I would really love to do it. And also, it was the giving to others. I was getting people send me. I get people send me letters still. No one writes letters anymore, do they? Or thank you cards, should I say? That was saying things like, Scott, I don't know how to thank you for giving my children their mummy back. And when I was getting stuff like that, I was like, my heart was just exploding at every moment. Like the stuff money can't buy. So, cut a very long story short, we are now in 90 countries, tens of thousands of participants every year. We've got 5-6 different programs that for people. We've had ridiculous success with all chronic illnesses like ME, MS, fibromyalgia, eczema, psoriasis, Crohn's, IBS, diabetes type 1 and 2, Guillain-Barré syndrome, sleep apnea, scoliosis. I could go on for Hashimoto's, lipedema. I could go on for ages. And either all being brought to a much more manageable level or into complete remission. We're currently in talks with the NHS, potentially hoping to be one of their recommended programs to go on. I've had a raft of celebrities do the program: Sarah Cox, Peter Andre, Rylan, Bobby Norris,
Wow.
Carol Vorderman, Alex Scott, Crucky, again, half the cast of In the Line of Duty. I've got an A-list actor from the USA that I don't even know who it is because he came on, anonymously, and he wants to stay anonymous. But I'm friends with his psychotherapist, so she's told me just that much. She said I can't tell you who he is either because privacy and confidentiality. She went, but I just wanted to let you know you got one of those on your program, and it's been an absolute life-changing movement, not just for all those participants, but for myself, because I managed to sit on this platform. I gained so much from it. It's become an amazing business as well, as I'm sure we'll talk about. But it's just like, in a saturated market, I found something that was unique, and it's been quite a thing.
Talk to me more about your motivation. So you scratched it a little bit there, about helping people. Tell us more about that. Like, why that? How's that make you feel? A little bit more about some of the people that you've helped. You talked a lot about like some of the health conditions that the six-pack revolution helps with. I'd just be interested in learning more about those things.
Yeah, well, let me give you an actual example. Last July, we had a lady that the doctor undiagnosed ME and fibromyalgia because at the end of the program she didn't have the symptoms anymore. Now they're serious conditions. That's not like the basic stuff, and I was like, wow, so you really are what you eat, which obviously I knew. I do have this amazing group of experts that sit behind me, by the way. It's not all about me, believe it or not. So my wife's a nutritionist. She specializes in the application of nutrition to physical activity. I have a doctor of biochemistry, a doctor of chiropractic. He's got the highest qualification in the world for his field. A psychotherapist and a GP, and she's an Ironman. So she's not just a GP. She also understands high level stuff as well. So,
and were these people with you at the start, or have you added to these people over time?
They've kind of. I've been really lucky. I've attracted everything to me at the right time that I've needed it.
Yeah.
I've become a PT since then myself, just to get the qualification to not allow people to have a bullet to shoot me in the back with, or he's not even a PT. Although I get the lovely title of celebrity PT now in all the magazines and the newspapers and the TV. I've been on so many TV shows, and in fact, I'm on Alan Brazil's Talk Sport on Wednesday coming.
Nice.
And
amazing.
I've been there a few times, and yeah, it's a very, very rewarding job, because not only do I get those messages from those people that really do lift you, because I think most people, unless you're a sociopath or some kind of psychopath, would always like to be told you did something for someone and it really helped them. I can't imagine anyone would not like that. So I get that daily. And I also get held to account myself, don't I? Because I can't turn into this person who's overweight and unhealthy and got diabetes, and so it keeps me on track. It keeps me staying strong. Yeah. But I teach this stuff anyway, so I do live Zooms all the time, motivational speaking, positive mentality stuff. So if you think about it, if I'm saying that to everyone else all the time, I'm also saying it to myself.
Yep.
So I get to feed, everything feeds me as much as I feed it, because it reverberates back into my brain as well at the same time.
Yeah. Tell me more about those early days. So I loved like how, you were looking around at the playground, you saw all the kids go into like their overweight, parents, and then you were like, oh shit, that's me. So more like practical like kind of things now. So you literally just got up and started eating better, practicing like better habits in your life, but I was thinking from a business perspective, like what kind of machinations did you initiate at that stage, when you did the second run, of getting people to go on that journey with you? Do you take on some business advice? Do you take on any financial advice? Or did you draw from your previous experiences in your previous businesses to help you build that?
Yeah, you're not going to believe this. I never borrowed a penny. I was fortunate I didn't need to. And I didn't even borrow a penny from myself, because it kind of was self-funding from day one. So I've run everything so far. We've now just launched our app, and we're beta testing it. So we've got a handful of groups at the moment for the January wave testing that. But up until now, so that's for 8 years, we've been running the whole thing through Facebook groups, which is free. Doesn't cost a penny. So I've not needed any funding. It's funded itself from day one. And it's allowed me to grow it into this monster of a movement without any overheads. So I've used all of those resources with me. I didn't get any business advice either. I've been winging it all the way through, but as I've been lucky enough to do, is one, I do have a business mind because I've had several businesses. So obviously I'm not like a complete novice at just trying to make things happen. But I am very, and I don't know, my wife thinks I've got a bit of ADHD. I am very good at telling people what I want and not being afraid to upset people. And what I mean by upset people, I don't want to upset people, but I do have, my mouth tells the truth. I mean, if you ask, if I was lying to you, you would see me so easily. My face would go red, like you just know I'm not done. We're trying to blag it, So I get things out in the open very quickly. I tell people what I'm thinking. You know exactly where you stand with me at all times, and I think that's also a recipe for moving forward faster, because you're not then faffing around with stuff that's behind doors, talking behind people's backs. No one really knows what's going on. No one trusts anyone. And so I think that's why we get to, we move forward so fast. One of the reasons. And because it's all online and people get their own equipment, we give them the recipes, and all this stuff is built up over time. I'd never photographed recipes before and things like that. But now I've got a Sunday Times best-selling book, Eat Your Way to a Six-Pack, and we just brought out the sequel to that, which is called High Protein Meals in Minutes, which is called the rules and the recipes and the exercises and all that stuff.
Look delicious, by the way. I had a flick through it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, they are really delicious. Oh, I got backed in a corner for that, actually, which you might be interested in. So I had a lady that was helping me way back. I won't say no names, and she was one of my team. My management team, if you like it. I'm going back 7 years, and right at the beginning. And she created a handful of recipes because we didn't have recipes. So I gave her that job, right? They're the rules. That's that's got to be on the plate. Create some recipes. She took them on her phone on a white plate. There was nothing fancy. It was just something more than we had. And then her and her brother decided to leave. He was helping me on other things. So those two were like my right-hand man and woman. And they decided to leave, but then told me I couldn't have the recipes. So I've gone from mad, like these stupid recipes that were not. Honestly, tried to tell me actually that they were her mum's recipes. I went, "Oh, your mum's done the six-pack revolution, then, has she?" Because these were two of the rules. There's very specific rules of the six-pack revolution. So way back when you were a kid, she was designing these recipes for me, was she? Okay,
she's ahead of her time
because she put backed me into that corner. I then sort of like, because this is a bit like what I'm like. I came up like I came up with the biggest uppercut that was coming. Sorry, I box, so I do analogies of boxing, and I set to work on my own. Right, I'm going to start from scratch. No one's touching this. It took me so long. I can't tell you. And I created all these recipes that were 100 times more delicious than they were. They weren't as basic anymore. I'm trying to work out lasagnas and cookies and this, that, and the other, and satay and everything that everyone would ever love and delicious with the stuff, pizzas. and fish and chips with chip shop curry sauce, done all this, found all these things, and set to work making them, took days, hours, months, took a whole year just to create this thing. Anyway, got it all together, was happy with it. And then I got professional photographers to come in, style it, photograph it. And then that's where all those photographs that you see in the books now are all done by, I cooked all of those, by the way. Actually cooked them.
Credit to you.
Thanks. And had she not put me in that corner, this is the obstacle I was telling you about. You know, I look quite often, the worst things that happen to us are the best things that happen to us if you allow yourself to win and not be a victim. So, I'm grateful for her for what she said to me that day, because it pushed me into creating a Sunday Times bestseller, one of the biggest well-known recipes of tens of thousands of people now use all over the world. So, I don't know how we got onto that, but that's where we've ended up.
You're quite right, Steve. Used to comment, winning, not a victim. I think you probably got some experience of winning and not being a victim.
Well, I liked your example, really, Scott. Just the challenge in front of you was either to be really frustrated and fight, maybe take them to court, do all that type of things, which you probably thought through. Or it was to say, well, what can I do differently, right? And that's just a typical mindset of pivoting in your business, in your business acumen.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because it was my solicitor. It was my solicitor that said that.
Oh, really?
We can take this to court. We can do this today. He said, or you can get up off pull your big boy pants up and do it all yourself.
Yeah,
that's all I needed to hear. So you're right.
Yeah, and I think in many scenarios with businesses where you get hit with an unknown challenge or issue, really good business-minded people try and pivot it into an opportunity rather than create more animosity around it. And I feel like that's a really good example of exactly that, right? You sought for counsel. You made sure that you were trying to get the best information that was in front of you, and based on all the information that was available to you, you made a decision, right? So, and often we do that as business owners. We have to see a challenge in front of us, seek as much information and guidance as we possibly can, and then make a decision based on what's in front of us. So, I feel like that's a really good example of that.
We talked a little bit about the early days. What I want to talk about now is your challenges, your biggest challenges. So 2 parts to this question. First of all, what were the immediate challenges that you had when you were setting up the Six-Pack Revolution? And what do those challenges look like now? What different challenges do you have, if any?
Right at the beginning, I didn't want to appear to be this local gym guy who's just put something online. I wanted to appear like this was the new, biggest, best, successful thing that existed on the planet.
Why didn't you want to look like a local gym guy?
Because I wanted to reach the world rather than just my close proximity. Because when I felt what I felt like after doing this program, which I winged it, remember, it was an accident. I was just trying to do good. When I felt the life-changing, overwhelming, finally living instead of just existing euphoria, I wanted everyone in the world to feel it at least once. And I called it giving them the key to happiness. Whether everyone uses it all the time or not, that's up to them. But they will have it. No one can take it from them. It's not going to be nicked. It's yours. And give you your power back, where you decide what you do with your life rather than the food deciding or the drink deciding. Or circumstances decided. So this was not just I want to lose a dress size type thing. This was, hang on a minute, this is different. And it is really different. So my biggest challenge back then was, how do I get it out big enough? And I'm still not happy with the size of it now. But then, no, I wouldn't be, and nor would any proper business person, I think, anyway, because you're always looking forward and trying to, especially as this helps people. Like, I want to try and reach the corner of every corner of the planet. So first of all, I got in touch with Peter Andre, the most famous six-pack in the world. Well, I would probably, I think you'd all agree, pretty much.
Yeah.
And there was another, it's a long story, but there was another law of attraction thing with me and Peter that was quite prevalent as well, which he didn't know, and obviously I only knew. And so I got in contact with him and asked, I actually paid for him to do my program through his PR agents and stuff. And I had a PR agent that got me in touch with him. But after about, I can't remember how long it was now, wasn't that long. He got a job to eat Kentucky Fried Chicken, Pizza and McDonald's for 3 weeks, one after the other. Believe it or not, he did. I've seen the show as well, so he did. He wasn't a lie. He wasn't just trying to get out of the six-pack revolution. So therefore, he had to pull out. But we stayed friends since, and then his family had done it, and he still messages me off his own back. Really not. He's really lovely. So what you see is actually Peter when you see him on the telly. It's not an act. And anyway, so that cost me a certain amount of money, which I paid. I got it back obviously because he didn't do it in the end properly. And so then I went on to Tommy Mallet from Towie. He did do it very well. And then I was like, there was such hard work dealing with celebrities that I found it quite brain damaging. It was just so hard because they're busy or they've got something else they got to do and they don't respond and whatever else. And I'm trying to give them this proper transformation here. This isn't like, just change a few things. This is like a proper thing. Anyway, so that flipped quite a lot once Tommy had done his, and then other people were coming to me then after that. I wasn't paying for anybody anymore. Rylan, I got a phone call from Rylan, who is one of my guilty pleasures, if I'm honest. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, Rylan? Well, obviously it was him because you can tell that voice anywhere. And I went round to see him. And I don't know if you've seen Rylan body transformation. Google it. It's incredible. But he was the other way round, actually. He was going through his divorce, 9 stone, 6'4", and I had to build him up. And we're still friends now. And that was one of the toughest things. And one of the other toughest things that's still hanging around, and this year I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet and do something about it, is that it's called the six-pack revolution. Now it's become a big brand, 90 countries, tens of thousands of people. That sounds amazing. But I know for a fact there will be millions of people that will see that title and go, well, that's not for me.
Yep.
And our biggest demographic is 35 to 55-year-old men and women, mum and dad bods, going from a size 18 dress to a 12. That's our biggest demographic. But that's because they've seen someone else who's done it and it's grown organically through that side. But people that are coming to it not in that position will look at that and go, oh, no, that's not for me. We've got to find something else. And then I was just about to take out an ITV advert, which was supposed to go live on Boxing Day, still trying to get it through the Clearcast, it's called, which is like the red tape, if you like. And we've gone through all this stuff, changed loads of things to make it all compatible. And then right at the last minute, they've gone, yeah, but because you're called the six-pack revolution, you're implying everyone's going to get a six-pack. I went, no, we're not. I've had 8 years, tens of thousands of people all over the world. Not once has that ever been mentioned. Not once. I mean, talk about, why couldn't they tell us that at the beginning?
I almost feel like six-pack revolution undersells what you do, though, right? Because from 40 minutes speaking to you, it undersells it because it's not just a nutrition thing, but not just an exercise thing, but the way you've just talked about these people. You built Rylan back up. You emotionally supported him as well. It's more than just a six-pack, I think.
Scott, what are you thinking about changing your company to, or the program to? Are you thinking about switching it up?
Well, I've had this conversation this week again. I've said, look, this might this might be a blessing in disguise. Although our ITV advert might be delayed now for 6 months to a year, if it's pushing us into this thing I've been talking about for several years now, that maybe it's time. So I don't know. We've got to sit down. I'm going to do a proper brand exercise, maybe bring someone in who's professional at, changing brands and stuff like that, to make sure that we don't lose anything that we've got and we are just switching over to something maybe more positive. Yeah, it could be something. I don't know. I wouldn't want to make it up. I need to sit and think about it properly. It needs to say, well, I keep thinking it needs to say something to do with the body so that people know that it's a body transformation type thing. Well, that's body and mind and everything. But then my team, my marketing team, they said, well, actually, you think about it, and you're a big enough brand now, maybe it doesn't have to say body or something like that, because if you look at Insanity, it doesn't actually mention body. We only know it's because it's known. If you look at various other things, like Nike, what's that? It doesn't say shoe.
Insanity, it instantly says hardcore, doesn't it? Right? You think that workout, you're like, oh God, that's going to be, just what I need, or oh God, that's too much.
Yeah, but we only know it's a workout because we know it's a workout. It could be, it could be a psychological course of something, or I don't know, you know what I mean? So I think I'm going to have to get the right people in to make sure that I don't do anything detrimental.
So I think we've touched a lot of success, but what would failure look like for you when thinking of your business?
Cool, this is hard for me because I try not to focus on what I don't want. So my brain switches away from anything like words like that. A failure for me would be to not have enough participants that it's worth carrying on. That would be a problem.
And just on that mindset now, we've all made mistakes in our careers, in our businesses, in our personal life. Will you be prepared to share one of your biggest mistakes while building your business, with us?
Yeah, I think I just did it, actually. This January wave, because of I keep the cost of the program really low. Now, from the outside, that may not look like it, but when you come in, we are live with you all day, every day. From before it starts till after it finishes, we are live. I've got 180 coaches all over the world, and we are live all day, every day. So I keep everything to the wire. So once someone's done the program, they go, oh my God, that was so cheap, right? And the cost of everything's gone up. And because I thought I was having this ITV advert coming out, and we was going to then hit a much wider audience again and stuff like that. And also, I'm currently speaking to an M&A company to looking at investment and stuff like that. I thought it was a good time to increase the price by it was only £10. But what I did to make up for that was I give a discount to the participants for all the products. We got our own shakes, protein bars, overnight oats, vitamins, omega-3s. And they get 10% discount up to the end of what we call prep week, which we're in right now. And prep week, and then it ends at the end of prep week, just to start them off, let them try this stuff, a little bit of a discount. So what I've done now is I've extended that discount for the whole wave of the program. So the whole 75 or 90 days it is, because we have prep week and we don't throw you out just after. So they were actually up, if that makes sense, by a lot. But and that's caused me a dip in participants for this wave. I think it's that. I mean, there's a lot of other things. There's Zempics everywhere, cost of living. Since Labour's got in, the confidence of the whole country is just through the floor. So it could be an addition of those things. But for the first time ever, I've had a little bit of a dip. And I'm annoyed at myself I might be annoyed for the wrong reason. It might not have anything to do with that tenner that I put up. But
is it £10 for the program, or is it per month? Is that the way it works, or
for the whole program? So it's like 11p a day.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, just from my perspective on that as well, we evaluate our prices on a yearly basis as well. And you definitely have some fluctuation. But generally, and that's just from our experience so far, we've had more positive than negative overall from a total standpoint. So yeah, I would encourage you just to be mindful that actually everything does need to be reevaluated, and you should just let it play out a little bit more maybe and see if the benefits are overall better over the next couple of months. Because like you said, 11p a day, that's like nothing. That's just
No, it wasn't, and it wasn't a big thing. But I wanted to also show the investor, and again, my big win this year, because I didn't have a celebrity this year. So my big win was going to be, right, we're now going on to ITV. So I thought that would create loads more of awareness. And then if we grew with the price increase as well, although tiny, but I think maybe potentially, because it's gone from 149 to 159, going over that 150 visually in people's heads is quite a
it's a mindset
number, isn't it? So even though it's pennies, I think I made a mistake there. But I could be wrong. But I can always bring it back down.
What are your numbers, just so that we understand? You talk about coaches. Are you employing them, or are they consultants in terms of your overall revenue per year? Are you able to share any of that?
I have a mixture. I have, because a lot of my coaches, they're more like cheerleaders, I would call them. So all the experts are there, but the cheerleaders, they're like in the groups. When people put in a post, they will comment on their post and encourage. And if there's any questions that need answering, they'll answer all the questions. Anything that's a little bit too heavy or medical comes straight to me. I'll then take responsibility for all of that. And I've obviously got the people behind me should I need to ask any more higher level questions, which rarely I do now, because obviously I've been doing this long enough. And when you say numbers, what you want the turnover, you mean, or what is it you want to ask me when you say numbers?
Just for the audience, if you're able to share turnover, if you're not, that's fine. It's up to you.
Yeah, I turn over just over £4 million a year at the moment.
I just want your opinion now, Scott, really on just health and fitness in general, but with small business owners in mind. So do you think that being healthy and fit gives you an advantage as a small business owner, not just for yourself, but thinking of other people?
Yeah, of course. Because listen, like everything you've ever been, everything you are, and everything you are to become is reliant on your health. If you lose that, you lose everything. Right? And your brain is a part of that body too. So we always think when we are fat belly, you're poisoning this as well. Right? Every cell in our body is fed by what goes through our mouth, right? Unless you want to drink through your mouth. So it's really important that if you want to have less anxiety and be able to see life from a balanced perspective and your business with a balanced state of mind, then you have to put the correct thing into your body if you want this to work properly. Just like if you want your heart and lungs to work properly or your digestive system to work properly. And the problem is, I think with most people nowadays, and I've been one of them as well, is that if you think about it, when we're young, we have treats, right? So what I mean by that is you'd have bags of sweets and stuff. You didn't have bags of sweets every minute of every day. It would be at the weekend when you're sitting watching a movie, or, you're not having this stuff on a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. But when we hit our sort of 18 years of age, and we're now technically allowed to do what we like, we're in the pub as often as we possibly can get, if you remember back then. We are eating whatever we want because now we can do what we like. And all of a sudden, every day is a treat day.
Why do you think that has changed, though? Like, because obesity in this country is obviously getting progressively worse and worse and worse, right? Every year there's new statistics, released by Public Health England that like obesity is gradually, climbing, and it's at epidemic levels, especially on healthcare. Why do you think that's the case?
For a lot of people, and the majority of people, one, there's not the education. Two, they're becoming poorer. So when you become poorer, you choose the things you buy are less nutritious. Even though I think people are more aware of their fitness and health these days, it's not changing the dynamic, because would you not agree? As time has gone on, there's a general misery, a general cloud coming over everybody, right? There's not really much light at the end of many tunnels for people. When you turn on the news, it's just doom and gloom. When you read the newspaper, it's just doom and gloom, isn't it? So people go for comfort in other ways.
I think there's a degree of that. I think you're right. Like, it's more difficult to be positive, I think, today. But I think also, like, the cost of food as well, it makes it prohibitive. And you touched on that in your last point, for people to make, like, healthy choices, because junk food it's easy to mass produce. It's easy to buy it. It's quick and it's convenient. And I think also there's the education piece as well, that has improved significantly over the years. But I think it's like a combination of just being generally miserable, a bit more gratification, and a lack of education in healthy choices, in my view.
And it's all pushed in that direction as well, because there's a massive money to be made out of the food industry, the poor food industry, and massive money to be made out of you being ill. So they will just support each other forever and push and push and push. And no matter how many documentaries that we manage to get onto the TVs to tell you this isn't good, most people probably aren't even bothering looking at those. They're too busy watching EastEnders with more doom and gloom.
Yeah, a little bit light-hearted doom and gloom, I guess.
I'd just like to acknowledge, I do feel like it's a big point and topic. You know, I do think that people are more aware of it because, there's the internet, there's people talking about it, there's a lifestyle about being more healthy, not just physically, but also mentally. But I do agree, based on people's ability and access to money or finances, how you impact that change is very different.
There's another problem as well. If you look on all of social media, I must say it's got to be 99.9% of fitness professionals, and I say that with inverted commas, all they talk about is calories in, calories out. Calorie deficit, calorie deficit, calorie deficit. That's it. No, and I had a big argument. The guy threatened to come and find me. He lived in America, so he had a job. But because he was arguing with me about trying to convince me that eating 900 calories of donuts is the same as eating 900 calories of fish and veg.
No.
Well, and I was like, can you hear yourself? Like, I said, do you want to do it? I said, I'll do the fish and veg and you do the donuts. Let's have 3 weeks.
But didn't Chris Van Tollecken do that, with his book, Ultra Processed People, right? Fundamentally, shit food goes in, shit results. Extraordinary.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that, what he didn't understand was he was trying to argue that the calories were the same, which, yes, if you've got 900 calories of donuts, 900 calories, but the body doesn't work on calories alone. Also, if those calories are not the correct calories to help your body thrive, then your body isn't working at its optimum. So then for each time you eat another donut, you're now kicking something that's already down, instead of lifting it and giving it nourishment. But you couldn't speak to these people, and it's everywhere. And so the people get like, there's a guy, I'm not going to call him out because it's not fair, because he's not here to defend himself. There's a guy on the thing, he's very funny actually, and he's got a few million followers. But all he does is tell everybody what they can have as the same calories as the healthy stuff. So enjoy life. This bar of chocolate is the same as this. That, and like, he's giving people the reason to carry on with the chocolate, if that makes sense, And I think that's a problem, because if everyone looks online and go, oh, it's only calories, I'll just eat. I won't eat all day and have my McDonald's every night, and I'm in my calorie deficit. I know people that count their last Malteser up. It's madness.
That being said, thank you for all of that. I'm going to use Steve as an example now. So sorry, Steve. And you're not in terrible shape, you're in good shape. Just to qualify this, but Steve is a pretty busy business person. He is in Manchester every couple of weeks, and it is hard work for him because he has to go up and down on the train. It doesn't have the benefit of being able to prepare his own food at home. So considering that Steve doesn't have that available to him, what's the one piece of nutrition exercise advice that you'd give him for someone as busy as him?
Okay, so do you stay out all week, or are you just going backwards and forward each day, Steve?
I'll stay out for 3 days at a time.
Okay. My first bit of advice is you want to drink 3 to 4 litres of water a day. That will be life-changing on its own. Second bit of advice is lay off the coffee if you can. I love a coffee, by the way, but the less coffee you have is usually the better, and you'll feel it as well. Now, food-wise, believe it or not, you can get healthy food in a lot of places now. You can go in Pret a Manger and get those boiled eggs and spinach as a little snack if you really wanted to. You can also use a healthy meal replacement shake as one of your meals for the day. And you can use a healthy protein bar, like the Sculpt bar, for example, or the RX bar. They are healthy alternatives for snacks, and they're delicious as well. And then when you get in the evening, if you're out and you're staying in a hotel, for example, there is no real kitchen in the world that can't make you a 6-pack revolution meal, if you ask me. And I've been doing it for 8 years now. Eating out and stuff like that. So if you look on the menu and it says a sea bass in a butter and caper sauce, when that waitress comes over, and don't forget they're used to all of this now, everyone's vegan, everyone's intolerant, everyone's got some problem with something, right? So I always just say, hi, could I be a pain? Knowing full well I'm going to be the least pain of anyone she's had that day. They go, yeah. I say, that sea bass, would you mind just grilling it for me and give me a big wedge of lemon? And I'll still have the grilled veg and the little bit of rice or the quinoa or whatever is with it. I'll still have that. So, but I just don't want all that buttery sauce all over it. Is that all right? No one has ever said no to me in 8 years.
And it's just extraordinary. None of this is not to disparage you, because you do great things with your business. Honestly, it's unbelievable, but it's not rocket science, is it? It's about making better choices.
Yeah. And even if you don't forget as well, on my program, I teach everyone how to keep their results and still party twice a week. But for the 75 days, we go from day 1 to day 75. There's no cheat days. There's no alcohol. We're not eating biscuits. We make our own. We've got cookies and all sorts of stuff we make. But even if you was going to do the program, Steve, there is always a way over every obstacle, and the winner is the one that doesn't stop until they find it. You can go into Tesco's. If I wanted to make you a chicken salad, get chicken breast off, take the skin off, go and get a bag of salad and some olives, and you've got yourself it again. And a wedge of a lemon, squeeze it all over. It's delicious. You've got yourself a 6-pack meal. All right, it's not a curry that you can make at home on the 6-pack revolution, but it's still doable if you wanted to do it. And I always say to people, the harder the fight, the more euphoric the win. So if it isn't easy, that 75 days, the euphoria that you feel, and also you'll respect it more as well, what you've achieved.
Yeah.
And then what you've achieved will respect you back.
So I had a lot through TikTok, your Instagram, other bits and pieces for your business, which you obviously feature quite prominently in. A lot of small business owners, they really want that. They really want to grow their social networks, their social media, that kind of way. So I wanted to ask your advice as a business owner. How would you recommend they go about growing their social media networks in a similar sort of way?
Well, I actually don't think mine is as big as it should be, but that's because when I look at all the other PTs and stuff that have got 2 million followers and 4 million followers, but they use the C word and they say all the things everyone wants to hear, whereas I'm just going to tell you the truth. So I would say, it's really hard to say, isn't it? Because it depends on the business. With my type of business, is that where it's a motivational speaking thing, I get to sort of like, if you like, present something that's useful for everybody to maybe have a listen to and can be inspiring and stuff like that. Whereas if your business is something relatively boring, for want of a better phrase, I guess it's a different ball game. So I'm not sure I'd be able, unless I knew exactly what your business you're talking about, I could give more of a specific thing. But I've got a social media company. They don't charge too much money, actually. They post every day for me. I have to make sure the content's there, obviously, but they help me with that. They come around here and sometimes and film me. They come up with ideas, and try and give value. We do a lot of before and after photographs, as you've probably seen. So that's lucky because we've got that in abundance at all times, because every time someone's on a wave, I've got thousands of them. So I could never run out of that. In fact, if I never got a photo again for the next 10 years, I've probably got enough to not repeat one. But I would say to you, maybe get a social media company that kind of know what they're doing. And it doesn't have to be one of the top ones that cost you thousands and thousands every month. You'll find some people that are like, especially young groups that are up and coming and really into it and probably know it better than the ones that have been around even longer, and ask for some advice. One thing I do very well is constantly ask people for help, ask for advice. And then if I agree with them, great. If I don't, great. Doesn't matter. I still learn something and I still got some ideas thrown at me. And then I'll bring those people into working with me if they make good sense to myself and the business itself as well.
I think that's an amazing way to end the episode on the theme of getting advice and getting help, because we all need it.
We do. If you think you know it all, you don't. Stop it. You definitely don't know it all.
That's a great mantra. I wanted to really thank you, Scott, for your time today. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for listening and tuning in. Don't forget to like, favorite, comment on our LinkedIn profile and on our YouTube videos. If you'd like to see more of this content, do let us know by commenting on LinkedIn, or you can give us an email. It'll all be in the description of the episode. Once again, this is Small Business Diaries, and we'll see you again in the next episode.